So what's happening on Ocean Melody this week? Well, I'm actually here all on my own, no children. I'm feeling a little bit anxious. It's the first time that in 6 months that I've left Ollie for more than an hour and a half on his own. So I'm here to do some jobs. The reason that I'm here on my own is because we've got a friend that's poorly, so we've had to do some last minute house sitting. So we're going to take this opportunity for the next couple of weeks to really tackle some of those jobs that are impossible to do with the kids on board. We are Andy, Melissa, Jack and Oliver.
We've spent the last few years preparing to head off sailing to every corner of the world.
A few years ago we bought this huge steel yacht as a project.
But when Ollie came along, we needed a bigger boat with more cabins.
So now we're working on both boats,
Getting Ocean Melody ready to go,
getting Still Melody ready to launch so that we can sell her.
to put some much needed funds back in the kitty for when we set sail.
So my mission over the next couple of weeks is to try and make the forepeak more comfortable and the aft cabin more comfortable. The first thing I want to do is get the forepeak mattresses out. I bought them off Facebook. They were like nearly new and I cut them to size and they are just so uncomfortable. Andy's taken to sleeping in the saloon because it hurts his back too much. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to try and make my own sprung mattress. Well, modify a sprung mattress, take the springs out, make it into a triangle, whatever. But watch this space to see if I achieve it, because I think it's going to be a bit of a mission. Mean to do that. Currently playing boat Tetris, so I'm moving everything from the aft cabin into the forepeak so we can sort out the kids' bedroom and make it all ready for when we're back in a couple of weeks.
So, as Melissa was just explaining, we're house sitting for some friends for a little while, which does mean that we can do some of the work that it's very difficult to do when you've got babies on board. So one of those things is I want to strip out as much of the removable woodwork that I can, including the floorboards, the deck head, the cupboard doors, and get all of that stuff away so that we can get all of the old varnish and paint off, or rub it back at least, and refinish those items and bring them back here. Now, obviously I want to do the whole boat, but the priority is the aft cabin and the crawl through, because we've got a couple of leaks. There's one or two, there's a tiny little drip here. I think it's from the sheet track. And there's also a tiny little leak in Jack's cabin that drips into one of his lockers, which I think is probably from the cheek block. But the quickest and easiest way to find out where those leaks are coming from is to take the deck head down and wait till it rains, or put a hose pipe on it and see where it's coming in. Well, would you look at this? I've removed the old bookshelf that was on here, and what I have found lurking beneath is the remnants of an old bookshelf. So at some point in its past, this boat has had a leak here. It doesn't seem to have at the minute. This is bone dry. That's in that cupboard there is where the actual leak is. But this is actually bone dry. But I wanted to remove it anyway so that we can inspect for any issues. I've removed the cupboard, and behind it is the remnants of the old shelf. So whoever, clearly this is rotted out in the past. It's not wet now, it's bone dry. It's completely dry timber, and we've had a lot of rain. So this isn't a new issue, this is an old issue. And whoever had it in the past just covered it over with a shelf instead of they didn't even remove the bits of the old shelf. I mean, that's just, what a total cowboy. I don't know who did that, but I've got zero respect for them. I'm not very good at woodwork, but I'm better than that. So I'm going to rip all of that off and redo it all, because the priority, like I say, is to get Jack's bedroom sorted, because it'll eventually be Jack and Ollie's bedroom. So this is really critical to get this dry and to find the leaks, fix the leaks, and make it a nice place for the kids, eh? And now's the chance to do it. I may not rip all this off today, because my priority today is, what my mission is, to take off the cupboard doors, take off the panels that are removable, to take them away, to finish them in the workshop and revarnish them, and then I can bring them back and it'll be nice to refit. And then whilst that's going on, whilst the varnish is drying it back in the workshop, I can be working in here. Okay, so this side is a similar story, but look, these nuts and bolts which have been hidden, look at that, the nut, those are for the toe rail. So that one is for the toe rail and it's dripping. That one is for the forward lower chain plate for the mizzen mast. That one's not dripping, that's bedded in nicely. This one is for the toe rail, dripping. This one is for the cheek block, and the cheek blocks, which I thought were the culprits, not dripping. That one isn't even tightened up. That's the toe rail, toe rail, toe rail. So whoever fitted that toe rail has glued it all down and stuck it down, but never bothered to even tighten up half those nuts and bolts. So that's potentially a safety issue, because if you slid sideways and in a rolling sea and relied on that toe rail to stop your foot slipping over the edge of the boat, you could go overboard. I'm very glad we found this. Not a big disaster, an easy fix, but I'm very glad we found it. And similarly, we've got a shelf here which has been removed. Oh, can you see me there? It's actually, I know why they've left this. It's because it was effort. This is just some flimsy fiberglass tabbing, which was used to secure a little bookshelf in place. So it's completely, it's nothing. It's only there to hold the bookshelf up. So I'm going to cut that off with my Dremel. Not today. Today is about removing stuff, getting it back to the house where we're house sitting and where we can sand and varnish. And whilst that varnish is being done, I can pop back here, trim all this back, give this all a clean, give it a nice coat of paint, tighten up these nuts. Look, they're not even finger tight. Look, I can tighten these up. And they are the bolts for the toe rail. Fortunately, the fiberglass here is solid, it's not cored. So that will not have damaged the core of the boat. I know your concerns. Some of you are going to say, oh my goodness, that's cause concern. It's not soggy, it's not boggy, and there's no core. The core starts here. The deck coring, I can see the bulge where the core starts. So it's fine. Not a big problem. It's just it's been bodged in the past. Lots of boats have been bodged in the past though, haven't they? Well, there you go, look at that. The whole saloon sole boards are up. It's not too bad under there, it's grubby, isn't it? But it means that we can give this whole thing a proper clean. We obviously store some pipe work there for when we finish our pump installation. We've got the galley floor is all out. There's one of the water tanks I've mentioned before, and here's the other one, look. It goes all the way from here under the chart table all the way back to the other end, and I've removed the floor from the aft cabin as well. So there are now no sole boards in the boat at all. Well, that all went a lot quicker than I was expecting, to be honest. I was going to say that I was going to stop and just focus on the aft cabin, but I've got all of the sole boards up and it didn't actually take me that long. Here we are in the aft head. This is the heads in the aft cabin. And there has been a bad leak in here. Well, I say bad, not a boat sinker, but it's been drip, drip, drip for a long time, I think. So the original shelf in this cupboard had completely disintegrated, much like the one in the aft, you know, above the bed. So I think this is going to be an area that's going to need a little bit more attention. I'm probably going to take quite a lot of this apart. That's the worst bit, that and the shelf behind, but the fascia here and this front and the drawers, the sliding doors and stuff, they're all fine. But yes, let me show you what we've got here. This is the aft cabin unit now, which I've just demolished. Need a new countertop on there. The sliding doors on the front are fine. They're all good. This solid teak framework is all good and solid and no rot in there. That piece of wood I think is fine. And the doors I've taken off are fine. But I need to find the leak in here, which I think is probably, well, you can see it dripping from that. It's the tow rail again, I think. We'll find that, you know, that's a job for another day, actually finding and fixing the leak, which is just a case of putting a hose pipe on it and seeing which one drips, isn't it? I need to replace that anti-siphon because look, it's been bodged at some point. God, it's really hard to work in here today because there's no sole boards in the boat, so I'm slithering around on the bilge trying not to slip down and damage anything. Like I've just nearly slipped and like clouted one of the anode bolts, which would be bad. Anyway, these teak slats in the ceiling, people have commented on them before. They're actually okay and it's not leaking. But while we've got that access to the workshop and I can sand them, I feel like it's an easy enough job to just take them down, sand them, paint them and put them back up, isn't it? They're not going to get replaced because again, they're nice, expensive teak. I'm just looking for a Sharpie. I'm going to fetch a Sharpie. Ah, there goes my screwdriver in the bilge. Hang on, let's see if I can reach it. It wedged on something. I'm going to mark them with a Sharpie and then I'm going to take them down. The aft cabin is now stripped. I've taken out all of the rotten wood from the shelves above the beds. I've taken out the rotten shelf that was in the heads in the aft cabin. I've taken out the sole boards, the cupboard doors, the drawers, and the ceiling slats, the deck head slats, actually, it's the head slats. So now I think we're kind of getting there with everything that I want to remove from the boat. Like I said, I don't want to go too crazy because we're only house sitting for a short while and I don't want to end up with a whole load of stuff back there that I haven't got time to finish. So I'm not going to take the doors off in the saloon because the hinges are fine and I can do those in situ and it's just more stuff to take back and bring back and, you know, there's just no sense in it. What I am going to have a tackle at though, I think, is the same, the deck head slats, those teak slats that are in the ceiling. The ceilings on a boat, incidentally, I'm not sure if you're aware, are actually the walls, and the roof, the ceiling, this bit is known as the deck head, and those bits are known as the ceilings. But because most of you aren't sailors, if you, I'll use those terms interchangeably. I'm going to be taking off the slats that are up here, which in a house is the ceiling and in a boat is the deck head. Well, still slipping around in the bilge. There you go, all the teak slats are off the deck head. It looks great up there actually, it's bone dry, but it's dirty. I don't suppose they've been taken down since the boat was built, or at least not for decades upon decades. So if nothing else, it's great to get those down, cleaned up, repainted and put back up. There's only about a 10mm gap. So I'm considering whether or not it's worth trying to install a small amount of insulation up there. It's tiny, so it's debatable whether it's beneficial, but it might be. Cross that bridge later. But anyway, there we are. We have literally ripped everything out of the boat. I'm also going to take these horrible old seat bases and get rid of them or do something about them because they're awful as well. So this episode was all just about ripping everything out the boat, and it's kind of going to be like a 3-part thing, maybe not in 3 episodes, but not much more. But the first step is rip out, the second step is repair, and the third step is replace. So rip out, repair, replace, and we've done the rip out stage. The only bit of the boat that we've not done is the forepeak and the forward head. The forward head's fine anyway, and the forepeak, everything in the boat is in the forepeak at the moment. But there you go. I think we've made some really good progress, and not much has broken along the way, which is good. So I'll see you next week, guys. See you in, next week on the next episode. Thanks very much for watching. Leave us a comment, as always. Click the like button. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can follow the link in the description, and the same with Coffee and the same with PayPal. And yeah, have a fantastic week. See you next time. Bye.